going to continue on with my how to design a pattern collection video series, and now we're starting the coloring process. So as you saw really quickly at the beginning there, I created a color group, color swatch group with my colors that I had created in my previous video, and then I select them. I select the artwork that I'm going to start to draw or paint, fill in, and then I select the live paint bucket tool. And then I just start clicking and filling in all of the shapes with the colors that I'm going to try. And this isn't permanent. You can try as many colors and go back and fix and change, and even after everything's finished, I can tweak the colors and change the color palette if I'm not 100% happy with it, or So this is just my process. I'm just gonna throw in tons of colors to see what I'm liking, what I have in mind, and stuff like that, and see where it goes, and then I'll continue to tweak it once it's closer to being finished. Here you can see I wasn't very happy with the first color scheme that I chose, and then I tried out another one, and then I thought that the dark blue, I don't know what to call them, feathery leaves around the flower looked pretty nice, and I got rid of the red. I thought it was too sharp, but I'm not even sure if I'll keep this in the final version either. I always have my finger on that Command Z to go back because I mess up constantly. At this point, I decided that instead of working on a white background, I should work on the background color that I want for the piece. So then I went through a couple of options, and I thought that this nice dusty light blue was a nice backdrop, and then I can have a better feeling for how the whole overall color scheme is going to work as I continue to color. Alright, so now almost finished with the coloring that I want to do so far, and I'm just going to put these little red dots in, and then I'm going to test the swatch to get a bigger overall look of what everything's looking like. Okay, so I made a swatch of the work, and I'm just, it's not completely lined up yet because I messed up my clipping mask and the lineup of that, but I will fix that later. Just wanted to get an overall look at how it is looking with the colors and what I want to change and stuff like that. I'm continuing to change different things and see how things look with different colors and that sort of thing, until I am satisfied. This can take, I can do it perfectly in one go, or I can maybe work on the same coloring for several days, or sometimes you just need to take a break and come back to make sure that everything is looking good. So let's look at my swatch again and see that it's starting to come together a little bit better with the different 4 large flowers. I want to make sure that they tile up well and the colors are dispersed around the work well. Like I have the lighter flowers in the middle, and I have the pink, and then I have the ones with the dark blue, and I think that really has a nice flow around the image. Now I thought I'd show you how I create complementary patterns when I do a little slightly easier pattern making, because the other one that I did is very complex, and as you can see I'm struggling quite hard because I didn't line everything up perfectly to begin with, so then I'm paying for it now. But this one's when I create much easier and much simpler, and but they're still very fun. So here's a illustration that I created inspired by pressed flowers from like the old botanical books. And here I have image traced my ink drawings that I had on paper scanned in, and then I'm going to color them in the same color palette as I did before. I just brought in my color palette that I had in the other main pattern. Here I'm adding it to my swatch library there. And then I'm going to pick a background color first instead of before. So here I chose the light gray, like a warmish gray, and I think that's going to look really nice. And then as I do, you select the artwork that you want to color in. Select everything. I hide the lines by doing Command H, so then it doesn't become so busy. And then you start clicking in with the live paint tool. With the live paint tool, you can even toggle between colors on using the arrow keys, which is really handy. So if you're gonna color quite a bit of stuff, it can make your life look a little bit faster. Here I keep clicking over to the swatches panel because I don't know, I forgot about the whole toggling thing. I'm just filling in with the colors, and I'm liking how this color scheme is working out more than in my main pattern, so I think I might be inspired by this. I really like the blue leaves rather than using the traditional green leaves. I think that's a nice look, so I think I'm going to go back to my other pattern, main pattern, and switch those out. Alright, so it's almost finished. I just had to fix the couple lines that were broken, so I'm just going to use the blob brush to fill in those lines, clean that up, make sure that, because everything has to be, all the lines have to be closed if you're going to be filling them with the live paint bucket tool. So there, everything's finished. I'm making sure I expanded all of them, and then I ungrouped, and then I grouped the individual flowers so that when I move them around in the pattern, they're going to be much easier to move around, right, by just clicking on wherever on the flower. So this is what I'm doing right here, making sure to have them all grouped separately. And then I decided that I want to have a second set, but all rotated. I'm sure I could have rotated them all at the same time, but I decided to do them individually for practice or whatever. And I think this will add a little bit extra interest to the pattern, so it's not repeating too often. It's the same image, but they're mirrored and stuff like that. Will be a little bit more to the pattern than just having 8. Now there's 16, even though they're doubles of each. So here in the pattern make tool, I select all the images that I want to bring into the pattern make, and then you press object pattern make, and then you have the option to do grid style or brick by row, or even a hexagon, which I usually like, but this one I wanted it to be really very basic repeat, very square, so I'm gonna later on do I believe I picked brick by row. I don't think column, I'm not sure. Let's see. Here I'm fiddling a bit with the layout of which flowers I want to go in what order, making sure that they are mixed up well and there's a good flow. You're just gonna fiddle, and this is why it was so nice that I grouped all the images so I can just easily click on each flower and I can very quickly just move around. Lots of fidgeting and fiddling with this kind of work, but I really like this process way more than using the traditional making a swatch on your computer and then fixing. When you're doing this, everything's live, so when you are moving the different items, it moves for the entire pattern. You don't have to do that manually. You can also test it even more. And then here I just click finish or done, it's called, and then I brought it out as a swatch. And even if you're not happy with how it is, you can still double click on the swatch that was created and go back in and fidget and fiddle even more. Like I'm just moving, so the spacing is really good there. And then it fixed right away when you open it up again. Yeah, even more fidgeting, you know, like this takes all day. There we go. And then I think I'm very happy with this. I think it looks good. So here I went back to my main pattern because I was inspired by how well the other one came out with that pattern. And I'm going to fix my swatch a little bit better by creating a better clipping mask. So you put a color, any size rectangle on top of your work that's the exact same size as your work, and then you make sure that it's on top. You select that and the artwork, go to object pattern, not clipping mask, make, and it creates a clipping mask, clips off all of the little extra bits that I had on the sides. And then I made sure to have a transparent rectangle behind the artwork with no stroke, no fill, and then you pull that to the swatches panel to make your swatch from that. So here I am taking this pattern, and when it's finished like this, I'm going to recolor it with the recoloring artwork tool. And here you can see I'm just taking my palette, and you can just randomly switch the colors to get some fun ideas. Most of them are horrendous and I think they're gross, but it's fun to get some ideas in your head of things that you might not have put together. So here are these options that it gives me, and this goes on forever and ever. But there wasn't really anything that I wanted or that popped up that was perfect, so I am manually changing all the colors. So this way you can just drag all the little colors to the other spots and switch out how they are lining up and stuff like that. So this is a really simple, fast way of changing your color palette with the same colors. You can change to a completely different color palette or a random color palette as you saw. So I chose the light gray like I had in the other one, and I changed the vines and leaves to blue, and I think that gave a very nice look, a little bit better or more 1700s than what my previous one was looking. So I'm kind of happy with that. And then I wanted to test out a darker color palette, so I went with a darker blue color, and then I brought back the green leaves to test that out, and I will continue to fiddle with that. And that looks really nice as well. So this is another thing that I'm going to continue to play with. And I like the look of this as well. It's nice. So here is my finished main 1700 pattern. It might not completely look like this at the end. I'm going to continue to fidget, but pretty much done. Thanks so much for watching. See you in internet land. Bye!